All right, welcome back, dear viewers. Got a quick video gonna present to you today with my good friend Legacy Game Mastering. He's got a podcast where he talks about games and whatnot. I wanted to bring him in on this topic because he's sort of the reason for the topic. This is a guy I know I got to know over the past few years who just knows games, especially the obscure ones. I've gotten to play games that I've heard of but never had a chance to play because I couldn't find anyone to play, or I've just never heard of him and he just asks, "Hey, do you want to play Dragon Warriors?" Next thing you know, we have a good time, whether it's a one-shot mini campaign. Yes. So, Legacy, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. It was kind of like a topic that both of us were talking about. Thought it'd make for a good video. So did you want to mention real quick your podcast?
Yeah. So the podcast is Legacy Game Mastering, but but you can find it on almost every major repository. Run it through RSS.com. So uh, it's pretty simple as far as doing that goes. Um, I still have my YouTube channel up. A lot of my videos are still up on there as well. I probably am going to start posting videos on there again as well, for certain things, because certain types of reviews and stuff are easier to do with video than just audio, and that's legacy game mastering as well. Um, and one of the first things I did with the podcast, I'm very happy about, is there is an interview on there with Sandy Peterson, who, by the way, is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah, Sandy's very cool, and I heard that that was a good interview. So, um, all right, well, you got a book in your hand, and we'll get started there. The top five obscure, or maybe not top five, but five obscure video RPGs that we think you should check out.
And let's just start with what I got in my hand, because we actually, you know,
Yeah,
we, which is Dragon Age.
yeah. I talked about this briefly in my top 10 video because I really liked it. This is one of those games that I heard about, have been wanting to play. I was collecting the books. Well, I actually have the original box sets. I don't have that book that you have, but I was collecting them because I'm a fan of the franchise, the video game franchise, and this is one of those games that I've wanted to play. And then when you made the announcement, I think it was on Discord, "Hey, I'm going to run this." I was like, "Hell yeah, include me." So, what I thought was really cool about it is how quick and easy it is to kind of pick up and
Mm-hmm.
play, you know?
Yeah, it's a quick and dirty system. The system itself is so simple. The 3D6. One thing I was going to say, you made a mistake in your
Oh, here we go.
video talking about it. It's a minor mistake. You said that the doubles have to happen on the two off color die,
Oh,
on the two same color die. They don't. Any doubles
that's right.
on
That's
any
right.
of the three
That's right.
dice.
Like I said, folks, this guy has been studying and reading obscure games for a long time. So we're in the presence of a master, as it were.
That's just one of those little minor things. That's the only thing I caught when you were talking about it. Was kind of a little bit of a mistake. But yeah, the system itself is simple. It's always 3d6 plus modifiers. Uh, Everything you do runs off that. Even the mass combat rules flow off of that. It does not change. The systematic part of the game does not change. Um, there's subsystems, but even the subsystems work off of the core system, which makes the game so much easier to understand. Like casting spells, you're trying to beat a difficulty number for the spell, but you're rolling your spell casting stat at 3d6 plus the modifiers
Right.
to beat that difficulty. So they managed to create a very functional system with a lot of little nuances that didn't need 87 different subsystems and five different rule sets. And you
Yeah.
don't need three books to run it.
Yeah.
It's all contained in that one book.
Yeah, that's something like I've been talking a little bit about how I like subsystems, but when by the time we got to AD&D like second edition, and even to some extent like the rules cyclopedia, the skill system in that in particular, like it inadvertently created subsystems to subsystems, like, or exceptions really to the
Yeah,
general rule, and it just bogs down the game. So like that modern game design of having like a unified system, like I completely see the appeal, And I do like how Dragon Age handles it, because each time you engage in something, whether it's combat or magic or social skill or
Exploration.
exploration, yeah, you're rolling the 3d6 add modifier, but like the stunt system makes it feel different as well.
Yeah,
I really like that a lot too, and
yeah.
the stunts
This,
give player a lot of like
yeah.
options that all of a sudden poof appear in the middle of your action. You know?
Well, and it also makes the combat stunts in particular make combat so much cooler because like you're no longer just swinging a sword and hitting each other. You're knocking people down. You're pushing them away from you. You're sliding under their armor
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it makes combat a lot more dynamic.
Yeah. Did you ever play the video game at all?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I have all three of the first three on my computer.
Yeah, yeah. The Veilguard doesn't exist.
No, it
The
doesn't.
no, it doesn't. I asked that because I want to get in a little bit of the setting, because we didn't really get I didn't
Mm.
get into that during my top 10 video, but
Yeah,
um, I'm a fan. And people know this channel know that I'm a fan of dark fantasy. I like moral gray stuff from time to time. I think it needs to be there to kind of challenge the players when it comes to their actions in the world, and there's that in here. Um, so I guess I'm gonna ask you. I mean, what do you think about like the world building and what the options that are provided to the player based on what the
uh,
franchise has done?
it's that's actually interesting because one of the things that the RPG does is it tries to explore a little bit of the uh, actually it tries to explore the whole world. Like it encourages you to set games in Orlais. It encourages you to run those games like that versus um, just running in Fairland.
Yeah.
And it does talk a little bit about the Anderfels and the Northern Mage Kingdom a little bit. Not a ton because they really haven't fleshed out those kingdoms as much as they could. Um, although that's actually an interesting side story. So originally, when they were doing the fourth Dragon Age game, it was going to be called the Wolfguard, I think is what it was called, and it was originally going to take place in the Mage Kingdom of the Deventer Kingdom.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if that's why the game designers here didn't touch it, because they knew a video game was on the way, or at least they were told, "Hey, we'll
Yeah,
give you the license, but don't do this." You know,
yeah,
like
that's a
yeah,
possibility.
yeah,
But they basically, when they came in, they rewrote the entire script for the fourth game. But it was supposed to feature Solos
yeah,
going like rogue, and he goes rogue, escapes to Deventer, and they like start an uprising in Deventer. And if you know anything about the Deventer Empire from the very little lore they put in the games, the Deventer are kind of evil people.
yeah. They're like
Or not.
really evil versions of the Roman Empire. Empire,
Yeah, yeah,
in a
they're
sense.
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, so it's cool to see that they kind of touch on that. And like I said, if you and I pointed this out to you guys when we were running it, I really encourage people to get the World of Theodos from Dark Horse because if you really want to run a game of Dragon Age, those books are invaluable.
that's a good point. That's a good point. I think that's on my to get list actually. Still, you know. Um,
I think they just came out in paperback. I've got the hardbacks. I got them as a Christmas gift.
Oh,
So
nice, nice. Yeah, there. What the published module that you ran for us actually goes. We started in like a lower part of Ferelden, I think, and then we went into the
yep,
Kakari Wilds, where
yep.
in the video
Or,
game you only kind of skirt the Kakari Wilds briefly, but we went deep in there and had some really interesting experiences. We'll say. Yeah, we almost died a couple times. Fun times though. That was a lot of fun, and I was really glad you offered to run it, because
yep,
I can't say enough about Dragon Age, the RPG. It's a fun game, and not one that's talked about really at all.
yep,
I think honestly, I think you're the only one doing it. When I was first kind of getting into the
yep,
Dungeon Tube scene, you know,
yep.
so
Um, the entirety of Green Ronin does not get talked about. Song Ice and Fire does not get talked about. Fantasy Age does not get talked about. Modern Age does not get talked about. The Expanse does not get talked about.
so cool. Well, anyway, I think everyone should try to check that out if you can find copies of the book. Um, you'll have a good time. You'll have a good time. I think the box sets are
Uh,
out of print. These were like the
yes.
original.
Well, this big boy here is out of print.
Oh, that is too. Oh man, well, you might be able to find a PDF somewhere on like drive through or something.
You can still buy the PDF, but
Yeah,
the physical copy I think is out of print.
yeah.
Um,
All right.
they only had the license for like a short period of time.
Ah, yeah. Well, that makes
So
sense. That makes sense. So, all right. Another game we're going to talk about. Obscure game. I already mentioned, so we're not going to spend too much time on it, but it is like my second favorite game ever, and that's Seven Sea. I I know you've played it. You also recommend we talk about Legend of the Five Rings because it's a similar
yep,
system,
yep.
similar attention to detail. I mentioned that too in my video.
Yep.
Um,
Similar world building.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Probably because it was built by the same guy. But
Yeah, yeah. I the thing about 7C, I mean, number one, I don't see game mechanics quite. I don't think anyone's used the roll and keep system like that in a long time.
no.
The game mechanics are essentially you have your attributes and they have ranked 1
Mm.
through 5 or something like that, and then you'll have skills. They call them knacks in 7C, and they'll have
Mm.
ranks. Then you total the ranks together. That's the number of d10s you're going to roll. But out of that
And then
dice pool, you're
you
only going
keep
to
a number
keep
equal to your stat.
correct. You're only keeping the number equal to your stat. And if you roll a 10, there it's exploding.
So,
And in 7C, you have something called the drama die, which is an extra
mhm.
1k1, which means it's an extra die you roll and an extra die you keep if you want to like be dramatic with like an action. And you get those through role playing. In fact, one of the more memorable games I ran of this very first game session, they were all going to be playing pirates. And it started in Vodace, the Italian equivalent, right?
Mhm.
And this swordsman, this player wanted to play a Vodace swordsman who was also sort of like lascivious guy. So I started him basically quickly putting on his clothes as the woman he was with goes, "Quick, my husband's coming up the stairs," right? And so he like sticks his head out the window and sees a cart with hay coming down the street. So he leaps out of the window to land in the cart, blowing her a kiss on his way out, right? And he rolled terribly. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's gonna die in the first action. He spent every single drama die he had just to pull it off. He wanted to make sure to pull it off with panache. It was absolutely hilarious and a great use of the drama die because he landed in a cart, blew her a kiss, while the woman swooned. The angry husband was waving his fist out the window, and off he was to his pirate ship to start the adventure. Absolutely just a fantastic dice pool mechanic and
Yep.
system for those sort of like high drama, like fun
Yeah.
swashbuckling moments.
I love the fact that they don't have a charisma stat. They have panache, which is a lot different than charisma.
Yes,
It's
yes,
not. Panache is like having chutzpah.
yeah, yeah. It's like your style, charisma style, like your presence. Yeah,
Everything rolling into one.
yeah. Though there was that each nation had their own. Almost all of them had
Yeah.
their own magic, sorcery, but they also had their own sword style. And
Yeah.
the French, Montaigne, all their sword style was about gaining panache. So they were very flamboyant and like they might not cause any damage, but they're just racking up panache that they can then spend through drama die to then do the killing blow. I mean, it's a fantastic. Whereas like Vodace's sword style was all about like getting you to let down your guard or like trick you into doing something, and then they do a killing blow. It's really cool.
I tend to play Castilian members of the academy. So
Yes, yes, yeah. Because the Castilians, well, that was the Spanish. They're the seat of the Church of Thea, and so they don't have sorcery anymore because sorcery is deemed diabolical, and only the nobles have it. So, but they have a very powerful academy, and so like if you play a Castilian, you have like all these skills you start out with. It's fantastic.
and Castilian knowledge monkeys are incredibly useful.
Yeah, yeah.
They can get you out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I can't recommend the original
No.
7C enough. It
Yeah.
is so much. One of these
Well,
days I'm going to
and
play it. And one of these days I'll do an actual play on Rumble or something with it cuz just so
uh,
much fun.
the other side of that is I'm L5R guy. I played more L5R than 7C. I love both of them, but L5R, the system itself is great for telling a story because of the pass fail system in the roll and keep. You can be very, very, very talented at something and still fail,
Yeah.
especially once you get into raises and all that other that gets start getting in the weeds of the system. Uh, but it's really unique to play a game that the dice system itself is designed to advance the story as much as uh, the characterization and the role play is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and both games really require you to really get into the weeds in the world. Um, you
Agreed.
cannot go to Rokugan and just flop down and think you know something about Japanese and Korean and Chinese lore, so you know something about Rokugan. They have their own set of customs and lore and politics, and
That's
same
the
thing with Seven.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Like the thing about those games is that the attention to detail for the world building. Like for me, like
Yeah,
I mentioned this before, I loved first edition Forgotten Realms. It was like my first real campaign world that I got into. Mistar is great and
yeah,
all, but you know, but then I read these books and I was like, oh my god, like these guys really did their research and they're really like it felt like a living, breathing world, like, and it
yeah.
because of the verisimilitude to our world, like it almost felt like you could easily step in there and just start doing what you're gonna do. Provided you're willing to sort of like learn from the setting itself, right? It's not a like where 7C is swashbuckling, so there's going to be sword fights, there's going to be people swinging from chandeliers, and it's really hard to die in that game. Not because you have a lot of hit points or got plot armor
Yeah.
necessarily. Well, maybe you do have a little bit of plot armor, but just like the trope of
Yeah.
swashbuckling is you don't die, you wake up in prison, and like the Count of Monte Cristo, you spend 10 years contemplating your revenge, and then you go get it, right? Whereas in L5R, if
Death's a thing.
if samurai were about to fight, someone was dying. Like
Yes.
someone was dying. So it was all about politics and
Uh,
manipulating and maneuvering with and trying to avoid the eventual sword fight. But when it came, you
so,
better have a Kakita duelist stepping in. So
but yeah, those games are great. They both of them. If you've never played them, if you're not familiar with them, really look into them.
really, but I think
Yeah,
the earlier editions of these games is really
yeah,
where the fun is,
yeah,
because I've seen
yeah.
later editions. Like I really do not like second edition 7C,
7C.
and I'm
No.
not confident third edition is going to be any better. But if you can find the first editions of those
Yeah,
games,
yeah,
um,
definitely. I-
play
And
them.
I'm on now L5R. Later editions of L5R are perfectly fine. Even the fifth edition, where they use the specialty dice, is still a perfectly functional, good game. But I still prefer fourth edition and before because it uses the traditional roll and keep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right. Number three. I don't have a copy of this book, but it's called Dragon Warriors. Um,
And unfortunately, I would show a copy of it, but my copy's in my office, and I would have to go digging through piles of junk to get to it.
yeah. Legacy does not have a traditional home. He lives in a vault of D&D gaming hobby secrets. It's just shelves and piles of books, game
Is it
material.
my?
I think he's got a cot somewhere buried in there. But no, but yeah, this was a game. This was like the game where you were just like, "Hey, I want to run this. You want to play Dragon Warriors?" And the way you asked it was like, "I should know what that is." And I'm like, "Are you talking about video game? Did they make like an RPG based off a Dragon Warrior? Are you what? What is this?" So I'm gonna let you kind of describe what Dragon Warrior, and then I'll explain like my experience
Uh,
playing that
yeah,
little short-lived campaign.
yeah. Okay, so Dragon Warriors itself is it's an Anglo-centric RPG. It was written by a British company. It was really the British answer to D&D, is what it was. It was produced originally in 83 or 84. Can't remember the date exactly. Um, absolutely great game. Then uh, mechanically, it's very solid, but it's set in a world called Legend. Uh, Legend is very Northern European, uh, mostly Britain, Ireland, Scotland, uh, some European parts of the mainland, some parts of Northern Africa mixed in. But it's based heavily on like very traditional Anglo-centric mythology. So knights, barbarians, sorcerers, warlocks, things like that, uh, versus D&D, which was more epic or high fantasy. Dragon Warriors is more gritty, dark fantasy. In fact, the rulebook actually tells the GM, uh, make it clear to your players that running from a fight is not anything to be ashamed of, because some things are designed to kill you.
Yeah, I remember the gritty nature of that game. I
Yeah.
played a barbarian, and we got into. We were. I'm trying to remember. We were going in. It was. I just remember it was dark. It was rainy. We were going into this guy's keep, and immediately, we were confronted by like 3 to 5 of his house guard. And
Mm-hmm.
if we had failed initiative, I think we would have died. Because we were outnumbered. And but because we got initiative, I rolled really well in that fight. I think I like bashed down the door and then just like started
Yep.
hacking people with my axe. It was a lot of fun, and I really liked how simple the system is. I didn't play it
Yep.
spellcaster, so I can't really talk about the magic system. But if I recall, it was like kind of like a roll under system, right? We had like a target number, and we had to
Yeah, it's a
roll
roll under. Everything's roll
D20
under.
underneath it. Yeah, which was kind of refreshing, right? I mean, it's like it's somewhat uh familiar because of the D20 target number, but you're
Mm-hmm.
rolling under, and I really like that. I
Yep.
thought that was
Yeah.
just made things
Um,
easy.
the initiative system for that game is amazing too, in that you don't roll initiative at all. Initiative is determined by your reflex score, and you go in reflex order. Players get it. If players and monsters are tied, players get initiative. Um, and the way damage is done is a lot different. Damage is a set number,
That's right.
and you actually have to roll to penetrate armor.
Yes.
So if they're wearing armor, you have to roll a. There's a each weapon has a die code for how easily it can bypass armors. So like you'll never bypass plate mail with a dagger.
Right. Yes, I remember that, and I thought that was really cool. It's a way of making things somewhat realistic, but without making it too crunchy. Like imagine, and I remember thinking about this, and I'm glad you brought it up because I would have forgotten and not brought it up. But when we first started playing and like going through the combat, our first combat, I remember thinking if Gary Gygax had written this, we would have to consult a bunch of charts and see what kind of weapon we're using precisely against what precise this, and it would be like a +2 and then maybe a
It
-1.
turns
And
into turns into Phoenix Command, the fantasy RPG.
right, right. Here it was just a simple die roll, and then just the set damage. I thought that was really cool, quick, simple, and had that verisimilitude of like actual fighting with medieval weapons and armor. So I thought that was really
Well,
cool.
and like I said, and then it encourages the DM side. It encourages you to use monsters intelligently, not just like, oh well, I might kill somebody, so I don't want to do that. Like if you get 5 wolves and one of them pulls a player character to the ground and trips them, have every wolf attack that player character.
Right.
But it does say in the player section that you should fight smart, not just swinging your weapon. Like if you're surrounded by people, fight back to back. Fight, protect your spellcasters in the back. If you're getting rushed from the front, push your sorcerer to the rear of the party
Right.
if he's up front, because he will get killed.
Yeah.
Their advice section is amazing too, because it really encourages player characters to think like they're actually in that environment, rather than like what a game like D&D 5e does, which a 4th level sorcerer can outfight a 1st level fighter.
Right. Right.
The 4th rank sorcerer in Dragon Warrior is still susceptible to being speared through.
And it's not even this is probably a topic for another video, but I sort of feel like gritty games isn't really like a genre. It's just when you're playing a game that reflects real life,
Yeah,
where the verisimilitude makes sense and the game
yeah,
mechanics support it. But
yeah,
um,
yeah,
I didn't play the Warlock. I think
yeah.
that Hunter was
Yeah, that
running.
was
Was it Hunter?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was Hunter.
Um,
Yeah.
so can you just for how does magic work?
Okay, so it actually uses a little different mechanics. So everything pretty much runs on 1d20 except spell casting, which is weird. It uses 2d10. Uh, they actually explain that in the book. It's because of the curve that it creates. But when you cast a spell, you have a difficulty to cast spells, and uh, you have a magical, like if you're trying to hit somebody with one, they have a magical defense. So you take your magical attack minus their magical defense. That's your hit number on 2d10. So it works just like physical combat, except you're using a different die code
Yeah, and that creates
to
that
do it.
curve, which
Yeah,
arguably could
curve.
make
So
spellcasting a little bit more difficult, right?
yeah,
So very cool game, very cool game,
yeah,
and I'm really glad you introduced me to it because yeah,
yeah.
I would like to pick it up. I just think it's a really awesome, just an awesome
Uh,
game.
the good news is it's available POD complete, like the complete line is POD on drive through. So
Awesome, awesome. Well, then there you go. Go get Dragon Warriors. It'll be fun. Um,
yeah,
all right, our second to last is a game that's not necessarily obscure, but we played it, and I don't see a lot of people talk about it, and I thought I'd bring it up, and it almost made my top 10, and that is Vossen by Free League.
yes,
You ran it, and this was another one of those
mm-hmm.
games where I had it, I want to play it, I can't find any players, and then you're like, hey, I want to run, I want to run some
And then
Vossen.
you and Atmos, my steadfast little companions.
Um, yeah, so this is like what gothic horror set in the
Mm-hmm.
Nordic countries. Your
Yep,
characters
it's
have like some have been exposed to the Vossen, these like
yep,
otherworldly beings, so you kind of can see them and you can interact with them, and you kind of become like hunters of them almost.
yep. Well, and then the big thing with it is you suffered some type of trauma from the exposure to the Vossen that drives you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I rolled
So
up a character who could actually cause fear, which is like the most one
mhm,
of the few magical abilities you can get in the game, at
yep,
least starting out. But my character was well, we'll just say he was an opium addict, and but he's off there, because he's like an occultist. He's seen shit, man. What I like about this game is like the simplicity. Well, let me rephrase. Free League has tried to abstract things to keep it more of like a narrative thing. You roll your dice pool and you sort of narrate what happens. And I think sometimes they
mhm,
lose something with the abstraction. I One of my biggest criticisms of the Walking Dead RPG is precisely that.
mhm,
But in this game, it works. You
yep,
As you take damage, you take mental or physical damage, and then that changes your mental state or your physical state, which will have
yep,
an effect on
mhm,
your whatever you're doing, your skills, and there's not a whole lot of bookkeeping, but it adds not just something mechanically, but also narratively and vice versa. Gearing up for adventures is really cool. You're not keeping track of money or whatever. It's you have like I can't remember what it is, but you have
a resource score
yeah, that's
basically.
it, resource score, yeah. And I really like the game loop too because you
Mhm,
basically get the venture hook. Something's happening in this town. You do some research at your home base, gear
mhm,
up, and then you go and investigate. And depending on your rolls, you might be right or you might be wrong, and you might have the wrong gear. And
yep,
next thing you know, you're
yep,
in some trouble, right? Or maybe it ends up being easy because you figured it out.
yep, yep.
Really cool, really
I,
cool.
I was actually going to say that it's a true investigative game. So like when you show up in a town, people will say something is kidnapping children. That's really all you know when you first step into town. So there's a list of Vasa that will kidnap kids. So you will prepare for like 3 or 4 different possible Vasa. And then as you start investigating in town and you make rolls and stuff, you start uncovering the what the Vossen is. And once you know what the Vossen is, you have to research and go into deeper research to figure out the right way to banish the Vossen.
Yeah.
It's not like these monsters are not. Again, I'm using D&D as a generic term. It's not a D&D monster.
Yeah.
You can't just go shoot it in the face.
Right.
They have very specific rules they have to abide by, and very specific rules about banishing, being banished and removed. For example, the adventure we ran was a revenant. The
Yep.
only way to put it at rest was to find the body of the person that created the revenant and bury it in holy ground.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. In fact, I remember, wasn't it like possessing some of the people at the inn, the
Yeah,
crossroads?
possess the daughter.
Yeah, and they were
Yep.
like coming after us with like shovels, and we're like, we don't want to fight them because then we'll be killing innocent people. Yeah,
You
but
didn't find the body.
yeah, we were barricaded in some place, and then we were able to dig up the body, and I think at one
Yep.
point, like, I made like this a fantastic persuasion roll to convince the revenant to just relax, like, we're trying to help you. And it worked, and that gave us enough time to do what we needed to do. It was awesome. I'm just having this memory from when I was a kid. One of the things I got into, one of the reasons why I'm like into horror is like, back in the days when before cable, before we had cable, we had the three channels or whatever, and there was
Yep.
PBS, and there was this one like British show which was sort of like a mystery show. So every it would just be a new story with new characters or whatever, but it was like this spooky gothic sort of mystery show, and I loved watching it. It was definitely, not that it was inappropriate for me for my age, but people my friends my age always thought it was weird that I was watching this boring
British
investigative
show.
British show, but I'm like, I think this is awesome. And this Vossen reminds me of that. Like, you're just
Yeah.
going into these creepy places, you're normal people, but you have like this sight because of your confrontation with the Vossen. So
Yeah.
very cool.
It's, Jen, and the setting itself is really interesting because, like, you work for an institute, you work for an organization, and the police hate you. The government hates you.
Yes.
So, like, you're subject to arrest for no reason.
Right.
Um, Lots of bad things can happen to you.
Yeah.
Um, and you just got to be very. It's one of those games that requires you as a player to actually have a functional intelligence of your own, and not just be like, "Well, I have an 18 intelligence or whatever in a game, and so I should know that." It really requires you as a player to have some level of intelligence of your own, because while your character can rely on the stats to get the information, the player has to actually be capable of processing and understanding and using the information.
Yeah, asking the right questions to prompt the next roll
Yeah.
or whatever. No, I completely
Yeah.
agree. This is definitely a game for more, I don't want to say advanced players, but like experienced players maybe, where they're really engaged with the material and are asking the questions, poking and prodding and learning from their own mistakes. Yeah, it's one of those things. One of those games I really like. And I've almost forgot to mention this, but in this game, you can also improve the home base. So as you like return from adventures and stuff, you can expand your library, you can hire seneschals or whatever. So there's like sort of this like downtime activity that you can do, and those things will actually improve your chances on the next adventure, which is really cool too. So I love Vossen. I'd love to play more of it. And if you haven't, check it out. All right.
It's
I am saving the best for last because we had
pretty
good
fun.
long campaign, and this is a game I picked up because I was a fan of the book series and the show, and never got a chance to play it. Then I met Legacy here, and this is like one of the first games we really played together. And it's just fantastic. I had so much fun playing Robert Schwab's A Song of Ice and Fire role playing.
Yes.
Holy crap! What a great game! What a great game! I got into Robert Schwab's work actually when he was writing for Wizards of the Coast during the 4E era.
I got it to him during 3X.
Nice. Really interesting guy. I know he's got his own game out there. Was it we played
Shadow the Demon Lord and Shadow the Weird Wizard.
Yeah. Those are fun games too. But yeah, he adapted A Song of Ice and Fire, and it is just wowza. Um, I can go on, but I'll just toss it over to you. What do you like most about this game?
Um, it's another one of those games that I think we've gotten to the point where we use the term derogatorily, but we shouldn't. It's story driven. It is absolutely story driven. It's a troop style play. Generally, you want to create 2 to 3 characters that you can rotate through for different situations. Like most GMs will encourage you to create a combat heavy character, somebody who can do intrigue, and then somebody who can interact with regular people. Because you're playing the member of a noble house, playing members of the noble house, or some connection to the noble house. In the case of their game, they had the way we came up with their house is they had come on hard times because the father was insane.
Yep, yep, yep.
And that actually shaped a lot of how that game played.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Because they had to cover up a lot of things. Well, you had to cover up a kidnapping, for God's sake.
Yes, we did. The thing about that game was that I really truly felt like I was in an episode of the show. Like something was happening, and it was because of the consequences of something else we did, and we couldn't get caught, or we had to like manipulate things. And, that it was just really really fun, and I probably one of the more immersive experiences I've had in the past few years. Um,
Yep.
One of the things I absolutely love about this game is you hear this a lot with like advice channels where they're like, hey, a good way to get your party together is to have a common, whatever it is. Like maybe you're all part of a mercenary company. Maybe you're all working for a merchant or whatever. At the heart of this game is the noble house that the players are part of. And that's the first thing that they make together. They have points, they distribute them, and then you like make. I think there might be a few rolls, but then you interpret what all of that stuff means, and then you create a house. The Three Spires, I think, is the name of our home base because it was just 3 towers.
3 towers.
Yeah, and we were allied with House Tyrell, the high was a high of Highgarden, and we were on a coast. We had a port town, so we had the potential for wealth, but we were beset by a mad patriarch and bandits out in the fields surrounding the place, and our military had been previously wiped out, so we were rebuilding it. So they were all green, and in fact, my militant character was like a young squire who was out. Oh no, he was a stable boy who got elevated to squire or something because they needed warriors. So he was like 15, 16 years old, learning how to be a knight, really cool. But then my other character was like a 60-year-old brother or uncle or something to the patriarch who was the Meister. And I was just like trying to keep the family from collapsing from within. Oh my God, it was so much fun. And stressful. I will, but in a good way. Like every time there was a new problem in that game, I'm like, pulling out the Pepto Bismol. Like, okay, this is how we're gonna take care of it.
It wasn't that I was going to become addicted to milk of the poppy. It was just I was becoming addicted to milk of the poppy.
Yes, yeah. The game mechanics, I will say this is can be a little daunting in terms of like mechanics.
Yeah.
But once you start playing, they fall into place.
Everything. The system itself, again, is so simplistic. It is a roll and keep system. It has a little bit of a weird way it builds the roll and keep. So what you get is you get what's called bonus dice for specialties, and you don't have stats. You have nothing but skills. There's I think 16 skills.
Yeah, there's
20 skills.
Yeah,
there's tons of them. And what you do is you put points into the skills, and then under each skill, so take you can take a skill like fighting, and then you can gain bonus dice using long blades. So the way that you read it on the sheet is you have 4 fighting plus 2B long blades. What you would do is you would roll 6 dice, keep the highest 4.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of getting used to how to read the stat lines, especially if you're running the game, because anytime you're running the game, that's how they write NPCs.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, and as I recall, building a character, there's a lot to it too, because you can get like talents and stuff,
yep,
which is going to affect
yep,
certain things. But what you were, if I remember correctly, what you were allowed to get really depended upon other things like your
yep.
age and things like that. So, and your social standing
And
and stuff like that. And
yep, and
so,
that's a big part of creation for Song of Ice and Fire is that your character gets starting build points based off of their age and experience.
yeah,
So younger characters get less points for uh, skills and specialties, but they have more what are called destiny points because their destiny has not been nearly as fulfilled.
you're right.
Whereas if you're playing the 60-year-old Meister, you get a crap ton more skills, but you also get less destiny, and there's also a enforcement of you need to take a certain number of flaws
Yeah, yeah.
because you're old.
Yeah, as I recall, my guy was somewhat crippled,
Yeah.
and I put that in his backstory was he was planning on being a knight and being like second to our crazy patriarch because he was like the brother, but there was a terrible accident, training accident when I was younger, so they sent me to. Oh, what was it? Wherever they trained the Meisters, but
The
that's where
Citadel.
the
Yeah.
Citadel. So I went to the Citadel and became a Meister and came back, and now I'm like the consigliere for the family, which was exactly what I wanted to play.
Best part of it is the dad dies. The son's like 9 years old, so he can't become the leader of the
Right.
house technically. And
And I got to be that guy that was manipulating the kids to try to make sure. In fact, we were arranging a marriage with one of the Tyrell cousins, and she was kind of young. And I remember like giving her like a really expensive bit of jewelry and being like, "Hey, you know, you're the flower of our spire," and blah blah blah. And she took it hook, line, and sinker. And I'm like, "Yes, we're gonna be good." I have control. And then Wibbs, he was playing our master of coin, and he and I were constantly talking between games. So this is what we need to do next. We're running low on funds, and we got to make sure High Garden is okay with us. And da 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 da. It was fantastic, just a fantastic game. Oh God, so much fun, so much fun. Uh,
and on a side note, outside of that game, one of the things that it encourages you to do, in fact, the campaign guide is chock full of major characters. It actually encourages you to insert major characters into your events,
that's cool.
have big names show up. They had a tournament during the wedding, and Boris Tyrell shows up.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
You know, and you're like, "No, I'm not going to joust if Boris is here." Screw that.
No, not the Night of Flowers. Nope, 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 nope.
Good.
Yeah,
Um, but it encourages you to plug and play with and to revolve the events of your house also around the events of the books. So, like, while your house is growing and changing, Robert is dying. John Aaron has been poisoned. You'll hear rumors of that, of John Aaron's death, and Ned Stark being named Hand of the King, and all that stuff. And it actually can impact the way your house drifts and changes during
right.
play
Yeah, because the major
because you're
houses,
going to have to. Yeah,
yeah, they
yeah.
have their alliances, and if you want to stay in good graces with whatever major house you're allied to, all of a sudden you're enemies of the Starks or something like that, right? So,
Well, in the case of your house, you guys were basically at the bottom part of the Tyrell lands next to the Lannisters.
yeah. So that's oh God, I didn't even realize that. So when had the campaign gone on, we may have been
Mm-hmm.
going to war with the Lannisters. Oh my God.
Lannisters.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that would have been crazy. Oh,
Tywin may have just decided he wanted a new castle.
uh, but yeah, that was a
But
great game. Absolute wonderful
yeah,
game. I highly recommend if you want something that's got a lot of intrigue. Oh, and combat is pretty lethal too. Like as I recall, there
yeah.
was a fight. My little squire got his knee bashed up. He was
Stabbed a couple of times.
stabbed a couple of times, and he was like out of commission for a long time because of it.
Yeah, he got messed up. Good.
But But yeah,
Hey, but good news is you did chase off the Dornish bastard who was trying to create a war.
yes, we were successful in that regard for sure. So, but all right, well, that's it for the five obscure games that we think you should check out.
Yep.
We might come up with some more as we kind of explore all the games that are out there. There are a lot.
Yep.
There's way more than just D&D and some of the bigger OSR games
Yep.
out there. I want Legacy. Thanks for doing this. Thank you so much. Also for introducing me to some of these games and running these games.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Everyone, check out Legacy's channel, his
Besides me.
podcast. I'll put a link in the description below. And
Yeah.
don't forget, I got a plug, so make sure to hit like, subscribe, blah blah blah. And Friday nights, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, 9:30 Central. My friend Gary and I, we talk games and have a good time. It is called The Second Watch. Would love to see you there. Until next time, y'all. Peace.